All right, looks like we're good to go. All right, hey guys, thanks for joining this Green Monday session. Let's see, I think I was echoing there a bit. We're good now. All right. So I have a few picks today. Nothing much. I'm gonna keep it simple. I got health and bonds is what I'm looking at today. As some of you may know, I'm pretty bearish on the overall market. I can explain that and show my screen on QQ, NASDAQ, and SP. In the biotech industry. And it was up today while the market was down. So a lot of times this ETF outperforms the market. But it doesn't always have to be inverse, and the market can do well and this thing can do well at the same time. So start the wave 3 here. We're in a bullish cycle higher. KS sign recently. Hasn't performed the average move yet. Close, but not yet. I got some open states up there. So far it's bullish, and it's going kind of sideways the past few sessions. Okay, and wave 7 here. Also bullish. Got a KS signed a couple days, like a week or so ago. Average move brings us up to 180 open state. And I'd really like to see this green standard deviation leave the golden area for continuous upside in this one. Put the percent bands on. Yeah, up to 50%. Get the open state at 180. That's a pretty reasonable target. Let's go wave 10. Yeah, we're at the 80% band again. This 50% brings us to 180. And this standard deviation hasn't really left the golden area yet, so despite the upside recently, there hasn't been a sharp squeeze move higher just yet. And like I said, when the overall market falls apart, goes lower, especially with tech, funds will leave that sector and flow into this one. With most big firms, they don't like sitting on cash unless they absolutely have to. So if they flow out of tech, they flow into something else. And a lot of times that's healthcare, biotech. Like this. Let's add 1,000 days. Okay. It's kind of interesting performance here of price versus the average move. It's just going sideways. It's looking like it can either perform the average move lower or gain some short-term strength and head back higher from current level. Let's go to higher waves though. There's a couple open states that this thing's targeting that seems pretty convincing. I'll show you that. I'll add some more days here. 2,000 days. Actually, I think it's the wave 100. I viewed this a little bit ago. Yeah, right here. I noticed this a little bit ago. Open state at 197.71. So this is where price is ultimately flowing to. Day over day, week over week. There. So that's a pretty convincing target I would go after. Even though standard deviation's diving a little bit. Doesn't mean that we can't get there. Wave 150, we got another target 207.5. 0.05. And then of course this one that was created not too long ago, the 179.64. Standard deviation's elevated, but it can remain elevated and go higher. So I'm not too worried about that. And then the 200. Let's see, we got another, yeah, same open state 207.05. So like I said, this is something you can go along when tech is selling off and the market's down, whatever. A lot of times this sector and this ETF stays strong. Like today, it was up. Let's see, take my computer. It was up 0.40%, just a little bit. But it's definitely more so a defensive name when tech is selling off. And that's about it for this one. I just keep it pretty simple. I see upside in this one for the longer term. And then XLV is same sector as healthcare, but this is drug manufacturers, IBB's biotech. This is more drug manufacturer based. Let's start with the wave one and go up from there. And this thing was up today. So both these ETFs were up today when the market was down. All right, let's go to wave three. We're above pivot, so it's starting a bullish cycle. Above pivot, so that's good. If you're looking for long, K assigned. Plenty open states there. Let's go to wave seven. Okay, I got two open states there, 160.53, 161.70. Let's put percent bands on. Yeah, we're below the 80% band. 50% brings us to 160.93. And this is green, but it's hovering right over the golden area. I'd like to see that take off in that area green. Give us a squeeze higher. The wave 10, let's put 1,000 days on this. Yeah, so K was assigned not too long ago, just like the IBB. The green standard deviations in the golden area. It's looking like it's gained an elevation to leave the area. So that's good if you want to play long. The average move brings us up to here, 161.47 open state. We'll take these percent bands off. So we're at high three. Let's look at the options analyzer. Go from 4 occurrences to 3 occurrences. We're at H3. H4 has a 45% odd of occurring at all. The 3 occurrences there. It's doable. All right, let's keep looking through though. Wave 20. So I like this one the most so far. K is assigned. Looks like today it was assigned. H1. And there's plenty of room here from our current high to the top of this average percent will pivot. So sometimes I'll just play this kind of move from the current price to here. Because a lot of times when the price gets here, the resistive area, you never really know what it could do. There's a few things it could do. It could continue up higher like as an outlier, or go sideways, or sometimes there's compression from this resistive area, and then it goes higher. A lot of things could happen there, but I've seen it a lot of times where we had a K, like we do now with the green standard deviation in the golden area. You can play, from current price up to here to this average percent above pivot. So let's take those lines off. I'm gonna keep going to the higher open states, the higher waves. There's some open states for price to ultimately flow to and close. As soon as these lines load off, I'll go to the next wave. All right. Let's keep creeping up. Let's go to wave 30. Okay, so that was a brief. Was that an L1? It's kind of hard to see sometimes, but okay. Let's go to wave 50, see what that looks like. All right. Add some more days. Here we are, 165.56 open state. And you can see it wicked down to the purple vector last Friday. Found some support there. And today it was up while the market was down. Making this a good sector, good ETF for some defense, rather, from the tech and the financial current sell-off. But first, yeah, of course, we got this 160.59. That was open 101 aggregations ago, or days. And then 165.56. I'd like to go long and see this open state close there. The arrow on. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to wave 100 now. Same thing, 165. Looks like that's a repeating open state. And price is much above purple vector, so nothing to be worried about. Has plenty of time to get there as of right now. Standard deviation's elevated, but it's not worrisome. 169.34. Another open state on the wave 150. And the wave 200, we got 171.38. So many open states higher for this thing to potentially hit. I think it will, like I said, as money flows out of tech and other risk on things. It starts to flow into things like healthcare names that are held by the XLV. It was up today while the market was down. So yeah, I'm pretty confident about this one. I like the companies that this ETF holds. This is something I would go long and hold even for years down the road. Many great companies it holds. All right, and that's the wave 200. All right, they have one more that I'm pretty bullish on. If you ever heard me talk about it before, is TLT, the bond ETF. Let's take 1 second. I'm sorry if you can hear my background. There's a lot of traffic or something out there. All right, let's go to wave 3. All right, 500 days. All right. As soon as I'm having this meeting, sirens in my background. Sorry about that. Near the main street. All right. TLT in the wave 3. And we're slightly above pivot. We got K assigned. So it looks like we're starting a bullish cycle in the short term. Let's go to wave 7. It's kind of interesting here. It's price is, battling the purple vector here. As time goes on, the Fed put here. Yeah, I can explain that in a minute. I'll explain that on the wave 100 or 200 might be. Oh yeah, and your question about XLV, the option chain is very thin in March. Gotcha. I've not looked at the options yet. I should probably explain that. That's something I would hold in shares, but yeah, I think there's some options you can take on that. I'm not sure how liquid the March is. I have to check it out. Excuse me. I'll have to go over that in a minute. Because we want to stay where all the action's at, we don't want a dead contract. It's never a great idea. But XLV, it should be pretty liquid. It's a pretty big ETF. I think owned by State Street. So I can look at that in a minute. Okay, so this wave 7 TLT, the price kind of ran out of time. Does it want to continue to go higher? Yeah, open state 91.69. And Pearl Vector is, it's the velocity of it's pretty strong, compared to price. Looks like price is slowing down a little bit. And this purple vector is just staircasing higher and higher. So time is not on price's side. As time goes on, the purple vector just continues to staircase higher. And at the rate it's going, price could fall into the purple vector and make a new pivot, and we'll have an L1 starting a new compression or downside cycle in the short term at least. And the standard deviation is going down, but doesn't mean it's over for the upside. Let's go to wave 10. Yeah, it's already performed the average move, or a little bit under the average move. It still has potential to close these two open states. 91.82, do the next. Or it'll go down and make L1 and follow this blue line lower, low pivot. Same with the wave 20, you got a bunch of open states there. Please go over QQ in relation to 601 and Fred. Yeah, I'll talk about QQ and what I think about it, just the overall market after this real quick. But yeah, price is consolidating. It's trying to find out which direction does it want to go. It's going to continue higher, have a squeeze higher, or make an L1. 1 and 2 is soon to occur. Let's go to wave 50. In many time frames, this thing is just leaving the golden area, the K assigned. And if you don't know TLT, a lot of times when there's weakness or fear in the indices and QQ, SPY, or just the overall market, this thing is inverse a lot of times. Unless if the market sells off because of inflation worries. Bonds don't like inflation. Bonds go down when inflation's higher. This is a deflationary bet. That's why I like it so much. My thesis is that at some point, I think at some point it's pretty soon, of deflation in the equity market and commodities, some other things. When everything deflates, there's always one thing that inflates, and that's the bonds. Especially this is a long bond ETF. Wave 50, this K was assigned not too long ago. It's green. It's getting elevated, but hasn't left the golden area yet. So no big squeeze move just yet. And we got the average move brings us up here to 94. What was that, 0.80? It looks like. Let's go to wave 100. And keep in mind, this ETF, if you look on the linear chart, this thing's only up 9% since 2003 era when it IPO'd. And this is owned by BlackRock. This is a $45 billion net asset ETF, so it's pretty big. This is like the SPY of bonds, of the long bond. So the options are very liquid, lots of open interest, lots of volume, lots of activity. So think of this as the SPY for the long bond from the Fed. We're above pivot here. Let's go to 150 though. Yeah, it's a pretty crucial moment here. It's right at the resistance at this average percent above pivot. Average move brings us up to here, up to about the 93 level area. We got an open state at 95.89. That'd be a pretty big move. And the K assignment meaning expansion, just signed not too long ago. Standard deviation turned green, so that's good for long. And I'd like to see this green, spike up and elevate higher from the golden area. That's where we would see the squeeze higher. And a lot of times I've seen price go sideways for a little bit until it figures out, does it want to go for that, or does it want to go down here, back below pivot? And then wave 200. This is the one I like to look at the most. Let me delete these. So this Fed put area thing I have labeled is at 83.30. It's just a rough, estimate the area. Fed put is metaphorical, meaning that if price gets down there, the Fed has to come in and save the bond market, or more specifically, the long bond. If you don't know much about bonds, if bonds crash, they're already really low, but if they crash from here, we would have really bad problems in our economy. This is the backbone of the economy that we're looking at right here. If bonds crash, there'll be lines at, Walmart, Kroger, whatever, there'll be a lot of bad problems besides the market just going down. So very important. So, and it's gotten here, looks like once. And when price got down this level, the Fed came out, said some positive things or whatever. They did anything they could to get the bond back up. They announced purchasing, kind of like a company would do a stock buyback. They were going to buy bonds, to keep the price elevated. So I have that labeled Fed put area. If it goes back down there, which would be kind of an outlier, that would initiate another situation for the Fed to come in and kind of save things. So, it's kind of interesting. It's really obvious for me to take this kind of bet and go more so heavy on it because, if I lose and lose by a lot, so does the backbone of our economy. This open state down here is kind of irrational. I don't think it can get down there. Like I labeled Fed put area. It's not really gonna get below this area. So knowing that, this is kind of like our floor. Kind of imagine that as a floor. It's like you see on Milk's chart, or floor and ceiling. Let's imagine this as our floor. If we break below that floor, we have some serious problems. So if I'm pulling calls and we get down here, if I lose money, so does, the economy does, goes to crap, I guess. So to me, it's kind of an obvious bet to take. I don't know the timing on this, but from what I studied in the macro side of things and from what I see on here, we're obviously due for a high of 1, H1 above pivot, open stay at 91.10, open stay at 97.62, we had L110 way back in May of 2025. Only 40% odds of that. Yeah, 82.42. Yeah, the 83 is kind of a rough estimate, yeah, 82.42 from 2023. Yep. So, and that's what I'm betting on, at least this open state, and then this one would be amazing, the 97.62. I personally have some 90 strike calls in January of 2027. I bought those a couple weeks ago. So I'm just sitting on those. And the only potential catalyst that can make this thing go really wrong is if there's a lot more unexpected inflation, right? So I'm watching this very closely. With the macro side of things, a lot of things could happen for there to be more inflation up here in the system. Let's say that private credit falls apart, fallout, or in private private equity, private credit, private equity. If there's fallout there, Besson or the Fed, they can come in and print more money or lower interest rates, back down to near zero, and that would hurt the long bond. So I'm watching out for those kind of things. But yeah, the main bet on this is betting on deflation. So the overall indices going down and deflating. And when those deflate, funds rush into here, into the bond, the ultimate safe haven, and then this inflates. So this is the ultimate safe haven when everything else compresses and goes much lower. And down here, I'm just looking for a K to be assigned and have some green standard deviation really spike higher. That'll get us to our 97.62. So I'm very confident it's a win. It's a matter of time when this closes. I think it goes much higher. Think of this as, let's see. So back in late 2008, going to 2009, it was like December to January 08, 09. This thing ran about 30%, I want to say, within a month, or a little bit over a month. So when everything else deflated or crashed, when the overall market crashed, commodities went down, equities went down, everything. Well, that happened, this inflated by 30%. And like I said, this is like the spot SPY or QQ of the long bond ETFs. So imagine like the SPY going up or down 30%, So this is gonna be a giant play when everything deflates. And so that's about it for this one. That kind of explains the whole thing with this one. TLT, owned by BlackRock, $45 billion net asset ETF. All right. I think someone asked about QQ.
You know what I'm going to look to do? I'm going to look to sell the 8380 January put spread if I can get anywhere north of 60 cents.
Mhm,
The thought pattern being I get paid 60 cents on $220 worth of margin. If
mhm,
nothing happens, if it does go down there, I'll sell the 80s for profit and I'll buy the TLT for 83, if that makes sense, right? Because I
Yeah,
wouldn't
love it.
mind owning it at 83, being
Mhm,
that a substantial low, if that makes sense,
right,
right? And me
right.
being a premium seller, you just can't get me away from
Mhm.
making that kind of money on that kind of thing, right? And
Yeah.
I'll do it in a retirement account with excess funds that need to be applied to get some sort of return, right? So that they're not
Mhm,
wasting away.
mhm. Yeah.
But
No,
great
I
idea,
love that approach.
great idea. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for speaking up about that. I love that approach, that strategy, going that way. Yeah, there's many creative things you can do in the options end of things instead of just buying, shares or naked call option. I like to say too, bonds and interest rates or yields are inverse. The higher the bond goes, the lower the yield, and the higher the yield, the lower the bond. It's always inverse. 100% of the time, it's designed that way. So the lower this TLT goes, this follows the bond without leverage. So, or I can say the lower the long bond that this thing follows, the lower it goes, the higher the yields go. And when yields go higher, it influences interest rates go higher, including the interest rate on the U.S. debt. So if this thing goes substantially lower, it could have a debt crisis. Even worse than we have. The current level of debt now. So this thing really can't go much lower. Is what I'm trying to say. That's why I put Fed put area. That's kind of the floor there. But yeah, I can get into Google already. I can look at that now. All right. Yeah, we're at the point in time in the session you guys can type in or speak up whatever you want to look at. Okay. Wave three. This thing's above pivot, obviously. Still above Pearl Vector, but it had a weekday. Not quite the average move up pivot yet. Yeah, open stay at 329.48. Standard deviation still green with KSI recently, a couple sessions ago. So, okay. Let's keep clicking through. Nothing obvious there. But okay, this looks good if you want to look for longs. And that's because price crossed above Pearl Vector. We're still above Pearl Vector, above this 308.86. Standard deviation turned from red to green. So that's good. Good to see the green there if you want to play long. Let me add some more days on this one. All right. You always gotta add more days because it adds more open states, and there's a lot of those down there, you know. And price, it looks like it found some resistance there, this average percent below pivot. So from current level, let's say it stays away from this average percent area as resistance, it then goes much lower to these open states. That's possible. Or it finds some strength and we can get the H1 above pivot. It's too early to say which one will exactly happen. We gotta find some more clues of that, and we'll continue to look at some more waves. But a K assigned be very helpful for long. Let's look at the average percent. Okay, we were at L9, stopped at the 20% band, right below the 50% band. Yeah, in the coming days, we'll see some more clues if price decides to go for this 80% band area, 318.73, or it will reject this, kind of area. It'd be pretty sharp lower because we got these open states at 287, 283, 280. With the options analyzer, see what this shows. Yeah, so we're at L9, 16% odds, only one occurrence. And everything after that is all one occurrence. So that's not too worrisome. Compare that to the H1 with 12 occurrences there. So this looks good, theoretically. This looks like we're getting close to a bottom, right? Further lows would be a much of an outlier. We know that. Let me delete this real quick. You know what? Let me show this real quick. A lot of times, since the overall market looks very bearish, as I can show in a minute, as I believe, a lot of times price will make a temporary H1, above pivot right here, and then go lower and continue its downside cycle. You'll see that a lot, especially right now. So that could happen too. The options analyzer shows that H1 is more probable. Okay, it can do that, but it might not last. It might stop at H1, H2, and stop somewhere in this area here, and then go back lower. So it doesn't always mean that we're gonna spring just back higher by a lot. Just because the options analyzer shows that H1's more probable than further lows. A lot of times we're in a big downside cycle. That's exactly what happens. It stops at L9 or whatever, makes H1, and then goes much lower below pivot again. So that's something to watch out for, especially now in the current market situation of things. Let's see. Chevron, NVDA. Yeah. Yep. I'll continue to click through this real quick, but yeah, in terms of getting an H1, it's obviously more probable than further lows, as shown in the wave 7. So it looks good, but I'd like to see how tomorrow plays out first. Give us some more clues of what's going to happen. Okay, the wave 10, it's not green standard deviation yet. It's still red. It's going down. I'd like to see us turn green. And then go for H1 there. If you're long, it's above the purple, just above the purple vector area. So it needs to remain above that vector to reject this further downside. Let's go wave 20. Yeah, price is going for this purple vector there. Once we reclaim that, go for H1. Try and delete this line. There we go. All right. But there's no clear sign that it's going to do that, Let's say price hits this vector, and then it rejects off that and goes lower. And then we have all these imprints right here. So that's possible. So like I said, nothing too clear, but it's looking like it's going that way. It's trying to rebound. Let's go to wave 50. Let me delete this. I'll have to add some more days here. Yeah, this thing is very overextended on the wave 50, as you can see. So like I said a minute ago, with the options analyzer, it shows, there's more probability of a H1. But this reiterates what I said about making a brief H1 or H2 and then going lower again. So that's what I'm thinking with Google. Because look at this down here. Why would you want to go long Google when this, after being a K expansion phase for, since May of 2025 area of time, got back down to golden era, then turned red ever since, I don't know, about, this month, start of this month, looks like. So yeah, why should I go along this when standard deviation was green for a while, finally turned red? And we might get an M sign there. Might be open state higher, potentially. Always got to check for that. No, not with 5,000 days. Yeah, it's losing steam. Like I said, I'd really bet on, a brief H1, H2, maybe even H3, and then going lower on the wave 7, wave 10 maybe. But definitely wave 7, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Like this price would get above this Pearl vector on this wave 50, and for that to happen, we would have an H1 and wave 7, and then back below pivot. So maybe something like this, reclaims it for a little bit temporarily, then it goes lower down there. That's what I'm thinking. I see it happen a lot. Look at this deviation just turn red. You never want to go long. We see red there. Let's go to wave 100. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, we have an open state at 388.37. It's definitely possible, but price has to stay strong here. It's going back down to that Pearl vector. It's interesting that when it stopped right there, a lot of times price will come down and compress. Like this is compression here. This is pretty good compression. A lot of times that compression stops at purple vectors for support. I'm surprised price hasn't got down there yet. A lot of times where we have compression and the stock is destined to go higher, it'll compress down here for support and then it'll go higher and hit the open state higher. But since we didn't do that, maybe we're destined, to soon go down like that. And then this will turn red down there. So just something to look out for. Okay. Yeah, similar thing there, I'll go to wave 200 real quick, and then I'll look at, let's see, you want to look at Roblox, then Chevron, then NVIDIA. All right. Let's see, wave 200. Yeah. It's at 358, open state. Kind of surprised, price back here didn't close that. Might not have the energy to. But it's much higher than Pearl Vector on this one, wave 200, obviously. So, yeah. Like I said, to wrap up Google, from what I've seen, I'd like to see a brief H1 or 2, at least. And then maybe some more downside after that. But so, yeah, in the short term, it offers a short-term, call play. What's good in the short term? That's what I would say. I can even look at a splice real quick. Let's do that. Let's do I don't know if what you guys want to look at. We can do Monday, Tuesday. I'll change this to wave 1. All right. So we're above pivot. K was assigned last. And we performed the average move already. So prices decide doesn't want to go for these open states there. If for price to get there, it would make a H1 on the wave 7 that we looked at. These open states, 324, 328, because the 80% band on the wave 7 was 318.73, I think it was. This is 324, 328. So, yeah, maybe potentially price gets there, closes these in the following days. This is like tomorrow and the following day or whatever. Let's say price closes those, makes a, like H2 or H3 on the wave 7, and then downside. That's what I'm thinking for that. Yeah. That wraps up for that, Google. Let's look at... Oh, percent bands. Yep, you're right. I forgot about that. Let's see. Looks like they're not loading up. Let's try this again. There we go. Yeah, so we're at the 50% band. Let me get rid of these lines. Now redraw this. All right. Yeah, so price is currently here. Does it want to go that area or down here? It says 80% red band. That's what is in store for Google in the coming days. Obviously, this upside here would get us to H1, H2 on wave 7, as we looked at. Or it'll be some weakness, and it'll go down and make it L1, somewhere in this area here. So this is what we're seeing for Google in the following days. Price is at the 80%. Oh, wait, you know what? I think you're... Let me see. What's the exact price of Google? Let me look it up. I might have this confused. 311.69. Okay. Yeah, correction.
So it's at the bottom of that candle, right?
You're right. I looked at that wrong.
Okay, I got confused. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
No worries.
Yeah. Right there. I thought the Pearl Vector was up there for some reason. So this is where price is at, right here. 311.69. We did hit the 50% band today, but obviously closed much below it. So, yeah, 20% band, 329.37. We're down to 307.64. Looks like it's more probable for the 80% red band to come into play at some point. 8 occurrences for H2, 15 occurrences of L1. This L1 has more occurrences than the H1. All right. Oh, it just changed there. All right, on to the next one, though. What was it? Roblox. I can look at that. Type that in. All right. Start with the wave 1. What was this thing doing today? It's probably... It was up a little bit, 0.69%, up a little bit after hours. Yeah, it ended right there, a little bit above pivot. Let's go to wave 3. See what we got going on here. So there was a K sign, recently, but then switched back to red, got an M assigned, below pivot. So we're in a compression cycle. And price is fighting for that H1 higher. All right, right, wave 7. Let me lose some more days here. All right. It's kind of a crazy pattern there. Yeah, like I said with Google, with the brief, H1, H2, kind of like something like this right here. This is exactly what I mean. This, maybe a couple aggregations above pivot and then lower. That's that's possible with Google. So far this is going long as a no-go. It's not obvious to enter long, tomorrow. Standard deviation's red, but it's going down. I'd like to see this turn green first, and then price to get above this pearl vector. It goes any lower, you see down the 20% band area. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy formation there. Don't see that too often. See if the wave 10. Huh. Nothing too clear there. Keep clicking through this. Okay. We're at L24. Standard deviation is not green yet. Still red. Still the M. L24, 20% odds, only one occurrence, then only one occurrence for anything after L24. It's nothing too concerning for further lows. I mean, it's still possible, right? 16% odds, 12% odds there. Only one occurrence. Compared to the H1, 10 occurrences, happens 100% time at some point. Looks like we kind of went down to 20% band. Yeah, I like to see some strength here first. This is still kind of catching a falling knife. This is compression cycle right here. How we know price is not going to go down here? It's at 10%, or even these open states, 42 and 37. That's possible. I'd like to see some strength. Get above this pearl vector and then go higher to the 8% band area, make it H1. But it's not too clear yet, But I do like it was up today while the market was down. That's good. Wave 50, okay. Let me delete these lines. L78. Obviously see we compressed, quite a bit. We've gone pretty low, below pivot on this cycle. But maybe speculating the bottom, if that is the bottom. Our 2% band. I'd like to see some strength there again. If you break below 2% band, you obviously do not want to be long at all. You can see some continuous sharp compression lower. So yeah, again, we gotta see some strength there. How we know this thing won't go sideways for a little bit. Standard deviation is red, no green yet. It's definitely pulled back a lot. Okay, standard deviation's at near extreme, or just about extreme, isn't it? 1,000 days loaded. And price is at the 2% band. Yeah. This thing is really pulled back, hasn't it? Okay. Yeah, I like to see some short-term strength still. Because if not, things get really ugly. We have open state way down there at 25.59, which would be very much an outlier. I guess it's possible, but not that probable, I'm guessing. Yeah. L64, L81 has occurred one time. Still 6% odds of that. So it's possible, but least probable. 23.53. Okay. So can I change to 1,000 days? Let's see. All right, that looks better. Standard deviations, near extreme again for this wave 200. With that being said, there's a few things this can do. Price could go back to that purple vector and reclaim that and stay positive. Or a lot of times it gets back to this purple vector, at least near it. And then there's resistance and then goes lower. So that could happen, or we got open stay at 150, of course. Or we can, from now, current price, we can just go lower to L1 finally. I'm surprised that it hasn't been at L1 yet. This price broke below this pro vector. Vector went sideways, went higher, sideways again. So let's figure out what it wants to do here. It's not too clear just yet. So like I said, if I was going to trade this one, I got to see some more short-term strength on this. All right. CVX. All right, Chevron. This thing has been going up an awful lot, month over month. So wave 3, we're in a bullish cycle, up pivot, but nothing too crazy. We're right above this purple vector. Got some green standard deviation, but nothing too telling. It seems kind of dead, right in this area. This was a big expansion phase higher, right? Same with here. This is kind of just some dead price action, kind of, compared to those, at least. Let's add some more days. Okay. Yeah, so price, broke below this purple vector there. Oh. But it's not at L1 yet. It's looking like it's getting there, though. A lot of times I see something like this occur, price will make that brief L1 and then go back higher, make another expansion phase higher, kind of like we saw here. So kind of the flip side of what I said about Google. That's possible, as long as the standard deviation leaves the golden area green. As long as the K continues. Okay, let's add some more days. See if there's any open states that are higher than that. 189.69. Yeah, look at that there. Let me zoom in. Okay. Yeah, 189.69, and then 191.55, and then 204.87. These obviously are a lot more probable. I will say you can kind of tell sometimes the price will show you signs that it might not get to these open states, that might just get close, make a near miss, and just go lower. And a clear sign of that sometimes is if price makes a bunch of wicks like this, like it wicks up to it and then closes much lower. It's like that, and kind of like that. So if price, wicks up to these open states but doesn't quite close them and closes lower, like this candle there, kind of a sign that the price doesn't have the strength to close those open states. So as time goes on, the price, its enemy is this vector, right? It's a battle. So price really needs to figure out, does it have the strength or not to close those? Or it's going to be thrown in level by the pearl vector, and then we'll have a L1. Standard deviation's low. It's interesting. Wave 20. Still some more days there. Okay. This open state 187. Okay. So looks like that was closed. Then we open a new open state there. All right. Yeah, open state at 228. Way up there. So far, it's looking like it's flowing there, right? Let's go 850, 192.15. Yeah, open state. All right. Wave 100. There's a lot of imprint bands there. No open state way up there, 275.81. We're at a high of 33. Okay. So it's in a kind of like a big empty space area. It's hard to tell what price will do when you see something like this. A lot of times it goes one by one with these imprint bands, gets those levels, and then has some compression short term after that. It goes higher to the next imprint band. We had a strong K, starting December or January. $273, yeah, way up there. Big open space there. We got 5% band, maybe gets there and then goes lower. 216.54. The standard deviation is not elevated though, too much. Let's go wave 200. Yeah, same thing. We got a 5% band there, the 220 area. All right. Let's see here about NVDA. All right, that's the next one. Okay. This closed higher today, didn't it? Show some strength. Yeah, Pearl Vector. Still in its expansion phase higher. This wave 3. Looks like it stopped kind of in the middle of the range of today, between the high and the low of today. Wave 7. Pearl Vector hasn't performed the average move yet. We got open state 199.13. All right. Standard deviation's green. For that to leave the golden area green, it's a good sign for long. I guess open state at 211.53. But yeah, as long as this leaves the golden area green, as long as the K continues, we can see at 199 close very soon. And potentially higher. K, M, K. Okay. And so far it's showing bullishness right now. It's showing no reason to go short tomorrow, I'll tell you that. As of right now. It's interesting. Okay, we got K. Standard deviation still hovering above the golden area. It hasn't been elevated. It'd be see something like this, like elevation above the golden area to spike higher like this. Good sign to see something like this, a big squeeze higher. Then we close those open states 197, 201. There's one way up there, 225.45. Even though I'm pretty bearish on the overall market, I think this is the one you don't short. It's gonna be kind of like Apple. People rush into it for safety. Without NVIDIA or GDP for 2025 would have ended negative. Everything is AI. A big part of our economy, whether it's right or wrong, is NVIDIA. That's just how it is today. Okay, wave 100 here. Got green standard deviation. It's like, okay. So we're still in the K assignment. So for that to leave the golden area green, would be great for long. Let me add some more days to this one. All interesting here. All right. Yeah, this thing's been going sideways, kind of like the whole market, sideways month over month for multiple months. NVIDIA earnings Thursday. Gotcha. Okay. I'll tell you by Thursday.
Wednesday,
Pretty clear.
420.
What's that?
NVIDIA's earnings are Wednesday, 420
Okay.
at 4:20 p.m. Yeah, on Wednesday.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right. 212. So yeah, after earnings, we'll know. Price will either go with that 212 or we'll have L1. But there's no clear sign what it'll do. And the whole market really kind of relies off NVIDIA's earnings, or at least in the headlines, it says that. Let's go to wave 150. See what these show. It's running out of time. Let's pro vector staircasing higher. This thing needs to go higher very soon. Let's go to wave 200. It's been a K assignment for a while. So either continues, leaves a golden area, or turns red, and we'll have M assigned. It'll go much lower. Let's look at the splice for the coming days of NVIDIA. We can expect a pretty good implied move on NVIDIA after earnings. All right, let's take it down to wave 1. Splice, Monday, Tuesday. Okay. Oh, what am I doing? Let's lose more days. Percent bands. All right. Price is right at the 80% band. Average move brings us almost up to here to 198. 50% band. So from current price, in the coming days, we can target that. An 8% band. And since we have earnings, we can see a much bigger move than normal, obviously. And then these come into play. The 20% band at 209, 10% 218, 5% 221, and vice versa, 80% 187, 50% 182, 20% 167. It doesn't perform the average move. I would think it creeps higher into tomorrow. Some kind of scene here. Going at H1. I think it creeps higher towards that open state here at the 50% band. Kind of wicked up to it today, towards that direction, but didn't quite get there. Yeah, wave 19193. Yeah, it's always good to look for those repeating open states, on multiple waves. Let's go to options analyzer. Yeah, so 49% odds H2. I think it flows a little higher into earnings. But I don't know. I don't know too much. I haven't really read too much about NVIDIA. I know for sure that the expectations are sky high, right? So gosh, I don't know. I personally wouldn't play the earnings. But if it doesn't do well, it adds more pressure for the market to go lower, obviously. Yeah. Let's go wave 3 again. Let's go wave 7. 193. Okay, no, it was 199.13. Let's look at some other waves and aggregations. We can go to the 60-minute wave 7. It's the hourly stuff. We got 193.95, 195.13 open states. Standard deviation is still green. Let's change to wave 10. Same thing there. Dive back down the golden area, standard deviation. Wave 10, 30-minute, KS sign, green standard deviation. This looks like the start of some more upside in the very short term. It's the 30-minute, wave 10, 30-minute. A lot of people look at the wave 10, 15-minute. So this is looking into tomorrow right away, obviously. Yeah, I don't see signs to, go immediately short, I'll tell you that. I guess I think it creeps a little higher instead of earnings from what I see. NVIDIA always has that kind of behavior too. Yeah, that's what I say about that one. All right, I think what else did you want to see? CVX, Google. Is there anything else you guys want to look at? You can type in or speak up.
Bitcoin.
In the meantime, Bitcoin?
Bitcoin or just Coinbase as well.
Yeah, we can look at both.
The coin actually hit your target, didn't it? Like 172, 174.
Yeah, we took the 170 strike call for last Friday. It was a little different. Got there, then went down, got there again, went down. So it was like
Yeah,
it offered multiple
that.
trading, times. So yeah,
Good stuff.
I'm taking off on wave 3. Yeah, it was a good in and out trade. Very short term. Wave 7. All right. So this M is just taking off, red standard deviation, or not to like to be long Bitcoin or anything related to Bitcoin. So right now, looks like the candle's right here. Huh. A little odd, but yeah. Definitely like to see this get down to at least here, the average percent below pivot. Yeah, look at the wave 10 standard deviation there. The M is, that red standard deviation's, gained some elevation there, gained some strength. Kind of like right here. As it gained strength, we saw this downside, which was pretty sharp. So, yeah, I'm definitely not liking long as of right now. You see how price rejected this purple
Rejected
vector
that.
there?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't see that happen like that too often. It's different. Huh. I wonder what this could be targeting lower. Let's go 2,000 days. Got some open states down there.
States. Yeah.
Let me zoom in. Yeah, so since that, this price rejected this vector, definitely not a good sign if you want to be long. Tell you that. We can see price go down here to 54,292, 52,718. It's hovering right over the 10% band. So yeah, maybe price gets down there to this 2% band at least.
I could see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not liking long. Unless we have some huge day, very soon here. Right, and then we get both this vector right away. But that's rejection right there. So that's not good for long. We got open state way down at 37,858. Pretty low, you know.
Imagine.
See a big move lower. Yeah. That'd cause a lot of
Panic,
chaos, wouldn't
turmoil.
it? Yeah. You know it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy kind of gap down like that. You would think most cases price follows what this blue line shows, the average move, right? The average move stops right here, then goes higher. We totally rejected that, path. We're going lower. So we're in an outlier, cycle. Outlier cycle lower. The standard deviation is not that elevated. We can see much more selling, much more downside. Yeah, if we get below this 2% band, it's pretty sharp to the downside. 43,104. Standard deviation is not even that elevated. Look how much it's compressed. Look how much it's gone below pivot. Yeah, I would not like to be long this right now. As of right now, as of what we're looking at, I would not like to be long.
Yeah, and a lot of people bought that dip 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
on all sorts of names.
Right. A lot of the software names, we can look at those in a minute, like Intuit, IGV, Sector of Software, ServiceNow. We're looking at those. I can look at that in a minute. Those have been selling off again.
Oh yeah, with that big news with the Claude AI.
Yeah, it's like every other day now. There's some new tool released by Anthropic or
Literally, yeah. There's a
whoever,
new
OpenAI.
headline.
And
Anthropic.
Yeah, and it kills. It's like the Green Reaper. It kills like every sector. So going by sector, just killing off everything. Putting more pressure on the market. Yeah, wave 200. We're definitely. It would be catching the fall knife if you buy. I think that's pretty obvious to say. You'd be trying to catch the fall knife. So
PayPal
yeah.
POSS buyout. AVP just said that. What's POSS?
Well, I think there was a CEO change going on there, and there's rumors of a buyout occurring. I think is what the headline said.
Yeah, that's what I saw last time.
Correct. All right. Yeah. It was up pretty big though. Yeah, it was 6% today. Finally gained some strength there.
I was lucky I left a runner. Half my runners.
That's why you always leave runners, right? For outliers, stuff like that.
Don't leave runners on
There you
PayPal. I have a runner from $200 in stock.
Oh no. Yeah. I can look at PayPal real quick since we're talking about it.
Okay. And how are you? You doing all right, buddy? You're killing it. I love these sessions. Yeah, there's not an open state close enough to make me happy.
Still some more days here, yeah. This K is just taken off. The open state at 48.65. We're at H5. 5% band at 46.53. Well, since it wicked up there and then closed lower, kind of looks like this here, right? And look what happened after. Even though this was red, but still similar candle structure. So perhaps this thing goes sideways, maybe short term, or maybe a little bit higher than the L1. But the standard deviation is taking off in golden area, so that's good. For long. Save the wave 7. Looks like it could just be getting started. We'll have to keep looking at this. The average move brings us here to 46.97. Open state right there. That's doable. take these percent bands off real quick. All right. Yes, that's doable. That 46, the high 46 area. The average move on this. Got some open states there. This K just got started. Expansion phase higher. We'll pivot. Underway. Look at this. That's why, yeah, it was a great thing for Eli to leave runners because look at this. Standard deviation being that extreme. It's not going down. So even though today was up pretty big, bigger picture in wave 20, looks like we just be getting started with the upside. Like this, that pearl vector come down, price cross that vector, and then gain some strength, go for H1 there, a pivot. And there's open state way down there at 16.59. It's kind of rational, That's nowhere near current price. It's like around 50% lower, ain't it? Around there. Yeah, so PayPal it got to continue some strength, This would need to turn green, but it's looking like it's turning around. It looks like it's revising higher, right? Right below 10% band.
Yeah,
Wait,
PayPal was looking
100.
so weak. I was thinking about shorting it below 38.
Yeah. If it gets back below there, sure.
A lot of white space.
Right. Yeah, it could be a huge
And
move. Those
the
2%
puts
band.
aren't massive either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, since this thing's been compressing, just going down year over year for so long that it really takes some really good news for this thing to turn around. It might be getting there, right? CEO change or
Exactly.
someone buys it out or both, right? And then it's a turnaround name. But yeah, like you said, if it gets back below that 38 level, for sure, get really explosive to the downside. I would think that'd be kind of towards the outlier side
Yeah.
of things, but it's doable. But I don't know. I don't think I could go along this just yet. Price has to, definitely form a bottom. It's kind of showing it right now a little bit, but we don't know for sure that it'll break below this 2% band or not.
Yeah, I was just swinging it very short term.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much just a reversion
Yeah.
play for me.
Right. Yeah, there's a story there, like as we just discussed before, they're kind of turning more towards a bank or whatever. And if there's deregulation in financials from Scott Bessent, he's pushing for it. That can help, this thing. But as far as the short term, yeah, if it breaks below that 38 again, you can signal puts for sure. Just
Actually,
makes
it
explosive
would be a good
downside.
one too to check out is Microsoft.
Yeah,
Down's been getting trashed.
yeah. I can look at that and let's see. MU. Yeah, I'll look at both of those. Micron. All right.
Because I mean, Microsoft that could be a good long term play.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of tech personally, but if I had to pick one, it'd be Microsoft. You know,
Yeah,
it's a it's a science company. The coolest place in the universe is in a lab in Seattle, in a Microsoft, lab. It's pretty cool. They have state of the art technology, obviously, tons of capex. So, but the stock has not been great. If you want to be long.
no sir.
So let's see if there's any signs of a bottom though on this one real quick.
Yeah,
Wave
2%.
one. It seems was down, what was it, 3% today, right? Down pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Bad day today.
So right. Yeah, if it gets below this average percent below pivot, I could get real explosive to downside. With standard deviation taking off in red. I have to find the headline, but I believe it was last quarter or two. Bill Gates sold, or no, it was the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation sold. I think it was like 70% of their Microsoft holdings
Oh,
a couple
wow.
months ago. And ever since then, it's been down what 40% since a couple months ago, since late beginning of winter or so. It's like November. I have to look at. I'll have to find the headline. But they sold a bunch on Microsoft.
I didn't find it for you.
Yeah. It's like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation sells. It was like 70% or 65% of Microsoft. Yeah. Which is interesting. Wave 7, long as a no-go. How do we know that price will, break under here or not? It very well looks like it's going towards that scenario. Under 50% band. Next is 20% band at 362. If it breaks under this average percent below pivot, deviation still red. So no clear sign of green or for longs. Look at that. It's kind of like a rejection for upside on the above the pivot. What price did here?
Oh, like a weak reversion.
Yeah.
What is that behavior? What would you say that is? Like weak reversion or just a weak
Yeah, it's
attempt by buyers?
it's a weak attempt at reversion higher right here.
Yeah.
We kind of gapped up here and was enough for H1. It's kind of
I
rare to
saw that
see
on
that.
AMD too,
Really.
on the wave 7. Yeah, same look.
I don't see this kind of structure right here much at all. A lot of times we'll get the H1 first, then lower. It just goes to show how weak things have been. We've been
Yeah, true.
outlier run lower for many tech names and stuff. Look at this. That's pretty telling what could
Oh,
happen. 372.81. Right. And Microsoft's at 384.47 right now. So
this is
372.81. Yeah, that's pretty probable. It looks like it's not too far away.
maybe that's 10% band. Let's see.
It's at the 2%.
Oh, it's
We had some more
breakout
days.
below.
Yeah. Look at that. Even lower, 359.16.
269.
Another open state lower. Yeah, if it gets under this 2% band, these can close pretty quick. That'd be a great to catch for puts. That'd be a pretty big move. L31. Let's see, 9% odds. Goes from 9% to 7% odds with L34. It goes from L31 to L34, maybe L32 or 33, happens. Stops there. But nothing too concerning for further lows. It'll be an outlier, right? Statistically. Oh. Let's go to wave 50 there. Look at that. Yeah, I've never seen Microsoft compress like this for this amount of time, month over month.
Standard DVF is getting up there.
Yeah, it's selling off pretty sharply. Wow, look at that. 258.72.
Let's say you're trying to play this. Like, how would you approach that?
For puts?
Yeah, short down
Or
to
just in
that
general?
open state. Or I guess not. Maybe something on, because on the wave 22,000 days, they were a little bit closer, but this one's pretty far down.
Right.
But
Well,
I'm just saying, like, if a stock is down here at the 2% and there's further open states below, how would you approach trying to capitalize on that short move?
yeah, I like to see the weakness occur first instead of try to guess if it'll break below the 2% band or not. I need to see kind of confirmation. And it seems like it is kind of a confirmation there right now on the wave 50, though. price is
Like
below
daily
the
closes
2%
below that
band.
level.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you also have to put like a splice on there and some other stuff. We can look at some other waves too. But yeah, if there's no strength here at all, I'll take my chances with, puts for further downside. 2% band. It takes a lot to break below that. Once it does, it's going much lower most of the time. Standard deviation is not extreme. It's elevated, so it's doable to get much higher. I have to keep looking at some other things though to confirm that I would buy puts on this or not. Splice might show that it might rebound, tomorrow or the following day temporarily. See, this was. Looks like that was closed today. It should be closed. There was a new open right here. That's the wave 60. Let's go to wave 100. Look at that, 352.79.
Yeah, like let's say we're
Yeah.
trying to play puts down to that level. That's kind of more what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen, if price is destined for, reversion higher, it really needs upside in the short term, like right away, like tomorrow and the following days. If there's no support or strength there, this comes into play really quick.
Okay.
So since it's market closed, it all kind of depends on tomorrow, the following day or two. Go from there. But would I buy puts on this if this was market open right now and I saw this? Potentially, I'd maybe give it a chance because that's a big move lower. That's a huge, gain,
Yeah.
potential gain there in puts.
Entry
Standard
wise,
deviation
would you
like
would you pop on a vector on the premium chart and look at like maybe a 1 hour side exit or something?
Yeah, yeah. Put the premium on the fractal chart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you find one you like the 352, I can look that up. I can show that. Yeah, for sure. I can show the put on here. Let's do the next thing is the timing.
Yeah, that's the
But
other thing too, timing.
let's see, it's March 23rd. Maybe like the big contract which would be what, March 19th, or what's the big one? Let me type in Microsoft options. Okay, I think it's March 20th. That's the big date.
Correct. That's the
Triple
monthlies.
witching. Monthlies, triple witching, right? That's where all the action's at. I'd pick that, the monthly, personally. And then the strike
Well, the
wise.
quarterlies are on the 31st. The monthlies are on the 20th. So on the 20th, you have the weekly and the what do you call it coming off. The weeklies and the monthlies coming off on the 20th, right? However, the quarterlies come off on the 31st, so it doesn't quite match up. Just so you know, the really
Gotcha.
big ones is when you have everything on one, right? You have the like June 30th looks like it's a big one, right? It's got your quarterlies, it's got your monthlies, and it's got your weeklies expiring.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I want to say got a 373.98 open state right here. We're only at L8, I believe 200. Yeah, I'd like to play that at least, the 373.98 area. Maybe like a 375 strike.
Mm-hmm.
We gap down all this way, we'll know pretty soon if it has a weakness to close the open state or not. Oh. Oh, looks like stuff I'm happy. I have to reload the fractal real quick. 1 second. kind of crashed on me. 1 second. All right. All right, should be good now. All right. All right, Microsoft. Okay, I think the stream's back up. Are we good? All right, Microsoft. Let's look at a splice now for Microsoft. See what's going on in the coming days. Higher time frames, the bigger waves, like we just looked at. I like the odds of a little bit further downside from here. Like I said, 375 strike is a potential. Let's go to splice. Monday, Tuesday. All right. All right. Okay, so yeah, we know prices here. We see the 10% band, which we're pretty close, only $4 away. And then below that, it's at 351 area, the 2% band. There's also this the 80% band up here, 389. So this is the outlook in the very short term, the coming days for Microsoft. More so tomorrow. So the options analyzer, L3. There's a big cliff, there from 5 occurrences to 1. 5% odds. Compare that to H1, 9 occurrences. So statistically, it's more probable for H1 tomorrow. This 8% band area, 389. Further low would be an outlier, but still possible. We see the 10% band, 380 hit, and if it breaks below that,
wouldn't mind a retest of that 80% band for entry.
Yeah, right.
Because I was looking on the wave 7, and that's a white space level 2. Once we broke 391, I had alert set. I just watched it fall after that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, so 389, yeah, depending on what it does from there, it could be a great entry for puts.
Yeah, just watch the action once price gets there.
Right. Right. If it goes towards the 50% band, yeah, yes, there's stop loss quarterly beyond that 80% band, but yeah, it could be a great entry there. Because look here, made a brief H1, then went lower. Let's look at the history of this real quick. Let me take this percent bands off. But a lot of times it makes a brief H1, then goes lower. Meaning we could get a good entry there at that 389 area for puts, then play lower. Yeah, look here. This example right here.
Oh man.
First we were under pivot by a lot, under the average percent. Got back up, made H1. Then look at that compression there. 412 area to 388. It's a pretty big move.
Yeah.
That's just one example. Yeah, right. Here, H1, they went lower. Multiple days after. It was day over day compression there. So yeah, that could be a good play there. We wait for the price to close that, or not close, but gets that 80% band area at 389 level, as shown right here. So make it H1 entry, and then it goes lower from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has potential.
Been a weak name. thinking always good to short what's weak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just go with the flow. The flow is much lower right now, so that's the direction it's heading or going right now. Stay with the direction, right? So there's some other ones. I can look at MU, Apple. Yeah, I'm glad that worked out with Apple. What's all right? MU is on a huge run. It's kind of right. The way it's acting kind of reminds you of Apple a while ago. It's been closing higher on days when the market's lower. Micron's been doing that a lot, almost like it's defensive. I go look at SOFI next too. Yeah, and that's basically because there's so much demand for what Micron does with their memory chips. There's so much demand out there with these data centers or whatever that, and they have a big backlog, right? So, well, everything else is doing bad. People pile their money into that since they know there's a proven demand there. They have a backlog of memory chips. Since this thing's so volatile, it's kind of hard to gauge what this thing will do in the short term. But let's look where this thing could be heading, though. The higher time frames. Yeah, this thing has a history, obviously, of making some big expansion above pivot. There. All right. Let's add some more days to this. Let's see what this could be targeting. Let's see if there's an open state higher or not. We know it just made all-time highs not too long ago. But the nonlinear chart, as we're looking at now, we have an open state higher at 522.65. Let's see, the high was 455.50. Yeah. So this is where price is flowing to right now. At least one of the targets. This area, 522.65. Yeah, it looks like it's, you can kind of draw a channel on this. It's going for that. Open state. No clear sign to go short this now, I'll tell you that. Those open states there, not just this one that was open not so long ago, but 496 and 528. Very doable. Yeah. I wouldn't short this. I don't know for sure if it'll close or not, but it's heading there. It's flowing there. That's the direction that's flowing. So if you're in it long, I think you stay long until you see some signs that you shouldn't be long. That's what to say about for Micron. SOFI. Interesting. 1 second. All right. Let's go to wave 3 first. Yeah, I remember last time we talked about this, I really didn't like long, and I think it's been going down even more since, was it a week or two ago? Type in SOFI. This thing was down 4% today. It's at 18.22. This M has really taken off. I think the wave 200 will show you that there's more downside to come. But let's click through this. Wave 7. Okay. Let's see, we went down to state. Gotta be a 2% band. Yep. This thing's been compressing pretty hard. It's been going much lower. But it would be catching the fall knife if you want to go long tomorrow. I know I wouldn't go long. There's no clear sign of, to go long. Maybe if this standard deviation turns from red to green and get a K assigned, I can get us a squeeze higher. And you can at least get a brief H1 higher to this 80% band area at 20. But yeah, some open states there lower. If it breaks below this 2% band, it doesn't get much sharper to the downside. 16.80, 15. Let's go wave 10. Similar thing, standard deviation's elevated, it's going higher. I never like going long when you see that. It's never a good idea. Even though we're at the 2% band. I like to see price bottom out kind of first. Yeah, 14.53, it's possible. It's gonna be 50. Yeah, 15.39. If it breaks below that 2% band, it can get there pretty quick. That one's a little more rational, $7 a share. But it's below the average move by a good amount. It really needs to find some support here soon and try to make a bottom. Yeah, 16.82 open state. You know, price has compressed so much below pivot. You know, why not close this open state first before it makes a bottom? So I would not enter long anytime soon, personally. On the wave 150, another open state, a little bit lower than current level. Perhaps we can price will try to make a bottom as soon as it gets down to here, this average percent below pivot. A lot of times it does that. It gets here, and then kind of gets a little volatile, but it makes a bottom, goes sideways, consolidates, and then goes higher. So I'd like to see a bottom form there first before trying to go long. That's for sure. On the wave 200, I have to add more days. Let's go to 5,000. It's not loading up. 1 minute. Wave 200 does not want to load. I don't know. Might not work for this one. But yeah, look at this M just got assigned though, not too long ago. That red standard deviation leaving the golden area. Never try to go long when you see that happening down there. And even though you look at the linear chart, yeah, price is beat up, it's down by a lot, you know, recently. Doesn't mean it's on sale, doesn't mean you go buy it tomorrow. There's price targets, mathematical price targets for this thing to hit, like 16.82, it looks like. I think that's where it goes. And maybe we can make a bottom from there. But yeah, I would say this, you know, it's pretty probable for this to close. You know, price has gotten all the way down here. Why not try to make a double bottom kind of, you know, with this area, this 16.82, and then go from there. But yeah, like I said, it's never a good idea to go long when you see standard deviation look like this. The M meaning compression, assignment, and then this red standard deviation, just leaving the golden area. Look how long we were green in this expansion phase. So this compression is just getting started, almost. So yeah, I would not try long anytime soon on this one personally. That's what I'd say for this. But yeah, keep an eye on it though. I don't know the valuation too well. Let's see. Okay, this thing's 46 times earnings, so it's even though it's down a lot in price, it's still overvalued valuation wise. So, not liking that. I know a lot of people like this one.
No, I hear a lot of people say it's a good long term.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it can have a great story, right, for years down the road. But as of right now, it's not showing, the valuation side or fractal side, not showing any reason really to be long.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any reason to be long it in the past few weeks. and year to date it's down 30%. So went it down a couple more percent or more to get to 16.82. I think it does.
Certainly looks that way.
L18. Yeah. I mean, we're in an outlier, performance right now. Why can't the outlier continue a little bit longer, right? It's kind of like the same with don't short all-time highs, because when something makes all-time highs, the probability for it to continue making more all-time highs is pretty elevated, right? That's its current, state of being. This is an outlier lower. Why try to, fight the outlier lower until you see signs that it's going to reverse? And there's no clear sign that's going to reverse higher. So I'd bet on a little bit more downside with this one, personally. Yeah, IREN, I can look at that one real quick. I think that's what, crypto market related? IREN. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I got you. This was pretty volatile, on the regular. This was, let me look at this real quick. Okay, so this is 42.36 a share. It was up 6% today. All right. This may just be an outlier from the entire market. It could do its own thing. Yeah, K assigned, green standard deviation, for that to continue green and go higher. And it gives you, confidence for continued upside. Yes, money open states above. Average move brings us to 50.30. I think today kind of rejects it further downside. That's what I'm kind of seeing here. Price ended above purple vector. From this alone, I would bet on continued upside, at least to start the day tomorrow, from what I see. It's K, M, and now it's green again. Okay. It's really looking like, yeah, today's price action is kind of rejecting the further downside as of right now. Let's keep looking through this. Wave 10. All right. Yeah, it says M, it basically gave up. It's back down, golden area. But this needs to turn green. And price is fighting for that upside. It's almost there about pivot. Yeah. Let's get some consolidation here, Let's try to figure out what it wants to do. It's gone kind of sideways from this low that closed at. Will it go much lower to those open states or go higher for H1? One of the two scenarios will play out very shortly here. The standard deviation is still red, but today helps. Today closing about 6%, helps the narrative for upside, continue upside. All right, this thing moves so much. I'm at the lower the days. All right. Huh. It's kind of hard to say. It's kind of a goofy behavior with price versus pivot. It's just, this thing's just so volatile. It's kind of hard to say, but today certainly helps, reject the downside, the further downside. All right, wave 100. Okay. I see. All right, so price will either go with this purple vector, try to claim that there at 55.10. We got open stay up there, or we'll go down and make an L1 below pivot. For upside, I'd like to see this turn green. It's red. Standard deviation. These are not going to show too much, the higher waves, but it's decision time though, for sure, right here. Does it want to stay elevated or make an L1? Let's go back to wave 7. I think this was it. No, was it wave? I think it was, yeah, wave 3. I like the wave 3 though. As long as the standard deviation can remain green and this K to play out like this, we can see something like this. At least a short term squeeze higher. Yeah, like this. So percent bands on. You can see up to 8% band, 46.35. Price is at 42.36. Be a pretty good move. 30 times earnings. I mean, it's a little elevated. Huh. Yeah, this is a newerish company. IPO'd in 2021, looks like. That's why the wave 200 doesn't really show much. Wave 3 looks good. Let's look at the splice. Let's go. See what could happen tomorrow for this one. Oh. All right. Price close right above this pivot by about $2 above pivot. Yeah, so it looks like a start of a bullish cycle higher above pivot. I really think, the average move is way up here, above the 80% band. I really think we at least get this 80% band tomorrow, 45.21. And let's see what can happen from there. Let's put 500 days on here. Then look at this. There's 7 occurrences of H2, 41% odds. Huh, and then there's 9 more occurrences of H3, 27% odds. Yeah, if I had a bet on the short-term direction, I can definitely see us going a little bit higher tomorrow or the following days. Up to this 8% band at least. 45.20. Longer term, I'm not really sure. It's a newerish name. I don't really know too much about the company, but yeah, short term, in the coming days, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a little bit more upside, a couple dollars higher at least. This 80% band. Yeah.
IREN is the
I'm sorry, what's that? You cut out a little bit.
AI infrastructure. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Infrastructure.
like data centers and whatnot.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have to read more about it, but short term, I could, definitely fond of the idea of a little bit more upside. I mean, the average move lines up this 8% band. 45 is, pretty doable. And then from there, with the see how price acts, see how strong it is, then we can get to the 50% band if it remains strong, or it'll go down lower. Make it L1. That's one thing for that one. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to see before I think I'll wrap this up? If not,
Oh, did you check out Coin?
oh yeah, Coinbase. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw on Coinbase on the higher time frames, big drop potential below 141.
All right. Yeah, it was down pretty big today, wasn't it? Looks like it's just getting started with this downside cycle. M taking off. Below pearl vector. Long's a no-go. User, you can talk. You can go ahead.
Oh yeah, thanks. Oh great, here goes the echo.
No big deal.
It's the echo. Hold on. Never mind, I'll type it. You can read it.
All good. Wave 7. All right. I'd like to say I'd like to see coin come down to 156.22 for support. This vector there. You know, maybe does something like this. And then goes higher, makes the average move.
Yeah.
But if this turns to red, we're getting the L1. Let's see. LOY Lily. Yeah, I think actually Lily's in the one ETF I showed earlier, the medical. You know, there's two things I'm pretty bullish on. I don't know the timing, but I know the direction. And that's, you know, healthcare related and then bonds. If I had to pick two and only two, would be those two. It's the only things I really like. That's the only thing I deploy for longs in this market as of right now. But yeah, here again, comes down to vector for support first, then performs average move. That's very possible. And this K could continue. Excuse me. This green could continue, even with price coming down a little bit more for support. Let's see, it's gonna be 20. Let's see, F analysis. Okay, like forward analysis. Do you want to go? I can pull that up in a minute.
Yeah, I see that right there.
This looks like rejection from that vector, don't it?
Like the Bitcoin.
That's not great if you want to go be long, I'll tell you that. We really need to see some support there with short term, give all this vector. Wave 50. Yeah, I got open state at 100.98. It's very doable. You know, I like to say too, I never like try and, you know, catch the bottom or the falling knife when price is this far away from vector. Let's go back in history.
I'm trying
Like
to
this
short.
right here. See this? Yeah, you can. The better play would be to short than try to play long as of right now. See this right here? Here's an example. Let me move this over a little bit. All right, you guys can see this though, this area right here. So let's say you want to go long right here at this day because we had an up day. It was up a couple percent or whatever. But then it went down, it went up a little bit, went sideways, finally went up by a good amount, and then we crossed the pearl vector, went sideways, then higher. So let me label this. This right here, this area was the great entry for long, not right here. Look at the difference price. Look, this vector and price right here. Look how far away they were, and look right here. Price got above the vector. Vector went staircase down. It went sideways, remained strong, and then we saw that squeeze higher. And look, we got a K sign right there. It all lines up. So this is what you had to see if you wanted to, you know, catch the falling knife on anything. See something like this first.
On the wave 50.
Yeah. That's just in general too, on any wave. You know.
Yeah.
And compare what I just talked about this right here to here, you know. Look how far away you are from the vector. say it was a down day, and we have an open state down here, red standard deviation. There's no clear sign that it's going to go higher from here. You know, let's say this vector staircase is down, right? Then price bottoms right here. Then let me put this in green. Let's say price bombs right here. Then this is the vector, gets above the vector, consolidates like it did over there, like I showed, and then higher. That would be the signs of the bottom. And then we would have green standard deviation, K assigned. It would give us a squeeze higher. So that's what I mean by, looking for the clues first instead of trying to guess this bottom, We have 100, same thing, same scenario, 89.68. Yeah, it's most likely heading that way right now. 82.52. Red standard deviation taken off, yeah. 82 area. We played short-term upside, but I'm more fond of liking, the further downside on this one. Yeah, this might not load for 200. But yeah, that's what I'd say about Coinbase. I can look at Lily though. Ford, safety play, XLV. Yeah, I almost bought XLV today in shares. I like it. I've researched companies that's in XLV. I can read them off in a minute, but it's a good defensive play. No. If you guys haven't seen Novo Nordisk goes down 17% today, around there. And this was, the inverse. This was up like 3% or whatever. So this is clearly the winner, right? If you want to be long, yeah, stay with the winner. Unfortunately, I kind of like Novo. I like their blockbuster drugs, the Wegovy, Ozempic. Ozempic was very successful. They made a lot of money. Novo is a big portion of Denmark's economy. That's where they're headquartered out of. Their economy really relies off Novo, and it's just really upsetting them all. It's not doing too well. It just seems to get worse and worse. I might have to look at Novo in a minute.